Good morning. I'm Monique.
I'm Lily.
How's it going? How's everybody's weekend?
Well, waking up, I think, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Morning meetings.
All right. So everyone's doing good? Everyone's doing okay?
Yeah.
All right. So we're all ready to get started?
Yes.
Okay. So we today are going over our project, our big picture project, and we've decided to go with living homeless in Silicon Valley, or in San Jose. We'll start with number one. What is the problem? And our problem is living in San Jose, or living homeless in San Jose. And then number two, frame the problem in the terms of a question. So how to solve living homeless in San Jose is one. And what is the nature of the problem? So for my quote, I found on Mercury News is the one that I liked was overall 7,394 homeless were counted, 838 more than 2 years ago. Of those, 2,530 are either minors, unaccompanied, unaccompanied by a parent, or young adults under 25 years old.
Yeah, I think I had one kind of like that too. That was similar to that the same kind of issue.
That you picked?
Mine was a little different. I mean, I have several, but I have one issue that says the primary cause of homelessness among families are the growing gaps between affordable housing costs and income. The emergency shelter system is only able to accommodate a fraction of the growing number of homeless families in need. Others are forced to live in vehicles, garages, storage units, unfit for human habitation.
Mine is kind of similar but different as well. The one I choose is the participant description of the social condition in which we're raised, and the reference for behavior which lead to them becoming homeless lead us to conclude that they believe that their social condition affect their life changes, that these conditions were responsible for their low quality of social connection, poor education and attainment, and insecure employment, and other reduced life opportunity available to them.
Oh, I like that one. That's a good one.
Thanks.
That would be a good way to do it, because I think some of them sometimes are like, you could almost use the same quote for a couple of them, like like the way he's asking the question, and then like some of them can apply to kind of all of them. So yeah, I think we all have good ones for that one.
We don't do we decide which one we want, or we just?
I think we should take note of the one that we like, that
from ours
could like one of what like our favorite one is, like that we picked, and then which one that would best go with like the final project.
Yeah.
So after we go through it, we can kind of decide, like after we go through all of ours, then we can be like, okay, like we should use this one, and kind of a thing.
Yeah. Okay. So shall we move on?
Yeah. So we're on the fourth question.
Yes. So whom does the problem affect?
So for this one, I got a lot of quotes I separated each category. So like the first category, I put like the elderly,
okay,
youth, people who are like, I think it was like under 24, and then veterans.
Yeah.
In the area.
That's a good one.
That's just how I split it, like 3 categories.
I think I like that idea a lot. That you did it like that, veterans and.
Because those are like the most numbers, like I could find the most numbers on those 3 categories. Like I was trying to find like other categories, but those 3 are like the main ones that I think work the best in the situation.
I also found a quote that like talks about how they're making affordable housing for the homeless. They're basically like going to give houses to them, and it's going to be in a regular neighborhood where other people live.
Mm-hmm.
But like the neighborhood people were kind of outraged about it because they were like, we don't want a homeless community living next to our houses. But
oh yeah, you didn't think about the other people that it affects.
yeah, like the neighborhood, like next to the homeless communities.
Yeah, we should definitely use that, how it affects like other homeowners, like the kind of stigma that goes around with like homeless people that, you know, they're like quote unquote bad people, or they're, you know, they don't want to, or they're, you know, those kind of like things that people kind of think, and like how it affects people who may be a little bit more like closed-minded and be like, oh, well, they're just gonna like ruin the neighborhood, or like how they think it affects them in that way. That's a good, we should definitely use that one. It's a good, like a different point of view.
Yeah, that's like a good one. So for number 5, I'm sorry, how serious is the problem? I mean, I have a few quotes.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just looking.
No, you're good.
I think mine was like a status. It'd be good to like, I mean, not a status, to use like numbers, right? So 2013 census showed Santa Clara County having more than 7,000 homeless people, the 5th highest homeless population per capita in the country, and among the highest populations sleeping outside or in unsuitable shelters like vehicles. So
yeah, good.
I think it's best to use like numbers with that one.
Yeah, stats are
stats.
Definitely. You know, like all the ones that I have are, you know, like a certain percentage do this, because like one of the ones that I saw too, which like also shows you kind of how serious it is that in one of the articles I read is, I think it was like, I want to say, I have to look it up, I have it saved, but it's like 23 or 24% of the people who are homeless actually have like 2 jobs, or actually have like a job either working at like Google, or you know, like you would think high-end jobs, and they're homeless, and like because they can't afford it. A 4% vacancy rate in like San Jose area, and so even if you are, you know, making, I don't know, like $20 an hour, it's still like really hard to find a place, because especially like the new places, like I see them all the time, like them building apartment complexes, but when you look it up online, it's like $3,500 a month, or you know, it's like $4,000 a month for like a studio or a 1-bedroom. So I think that's a really big one, that like the cost of living, and then like even if you work like in an office job, it still doesn't like match up.
And they also have Section 8 housing, or they put it on pause. So that was for like affordable homes for people that couldn't afford to pay like the full rent. They would pay like $100 a month versus like $3,500.
Yeah, so I think that's like another thing to use to say like, it doesn't, you know, it affects everyone, and it's like a serious enough problem that some people are working like 2 jobs, or have, you know, a quote good job, and they're still like living in their car, or they're still, you know, they can't find like even a studio to rent, or like a bedroom to rent. Like it's still super uneven in that sense.
Exactly. And that's another like point that we can put for whom does the problem affect. Like,
yeah, definitely.
It's not just like mental illness people who are, you know, homeless, or, you know, people that didn't grow up right. It's people who are like hardworking and just can't afford to live out here, but they get their jobs here. Like these are their jobs.
Mine's a little different. I put earlier this month the DC Alliance of Youth Advocate, a youth engaged organization and resident, found that 40% of DC homeless youth were in foster care and juvenile justice system.
Okay.
It could be from the, you know, their history as well. That's why they doing this.
That's another.
Well, and then also like mental health issues and like drug issues. Like a lot of them, some of them, you know, don't have a job, and they do just, you know, are on drugs, or they do have like mental illness. And in that sense, and that's like a whole nother problem where like that's when you talk about, okay, like the mental health issue in San Jose, and then like the drug issue in San Jose, and how like maybe those things can help influence like the homeless situation. So if there was more help in those areas, maybe the numbers would go down. But you know, that's just like, that's like a whole nother, probably like a whole other topic we could do it on.
Right.
But it's factors into it
Also,
a little
there's
bit.
alcohol consumption too.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And gambling.
I think I like the idea of it, of our focus being on how like it's not just those people who are homeless. It's like middle class people who just, you know,
people with families. They can't afford to like, take care of their families and their bills together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like read a bunch of articles like that. Yeah.
I did find a website, however, that it helps people pay their bills.
To be homeless?
It was like a list of like resources you can go to help pay for your rent, your mortgage, like just different things like like PG&E bills. I mean, I don't know how like official it is or not, but I thought that was cool.
Like they'll take percentage off or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those are all really good points that we can use.
So for number 6, what are the causes of the problem? We already identified that like living out here is expensive, but like
the living expenses,
ex-veteran, and etc.
Yeah, for sure. That's like that's the biggest problem is the income, and then like the housing rate is just so off. But then that's the other thing in the article I read, that the more it works like in any situation, the more you raise the minimum wage or the more you get paid, the more everything else is going to go up. It's not like that stays and then it rises. So it's already so unbalanced that no matter if you made the minimum wage like $30 an hour, then that means your rent's going to go to like $20,000 a month, something ridiculous to make up for it. So that's like the biggest issue. But then you go to like other states like, you know, Texas or the South, where kids, like, I say kids, like people our age are buying like 4-bedroom houses, you know, like in brand new homes, and it's, you know, but you have to think they're not getting paid a lot. Like, they're getting paid like a lesser amount, but the cost of living is so cheap out there that it evens out.
Yeah.
So lots of things are like take in and out in that kind of situation. And plus, a lot of the places they live like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Living here, you're paying to live in an area where you could go down the street and it's
convenient.
You know, like, everything's right there. Like you're, you know, 45 minutes from San Francisco. You're a few hours from LA. You're
the beach,
you go to
like
the beach,
the way.
the mountain. Yeah, you have like everything in one state. So it's like what you pay for, but
it is.
That's definitely, I think, the biggest problem.
It's just such a nice place to live at. You don't want to leave.
Perfect. And the weather, I mean.
Oh my God. I couldn't imagine living somewhere else. I couldn't.
You know, crazy.
But I read articles that's why people go homeless, because they don't want to leave. Like they don't want to leave their homes or their areas. So they choose to just be homeless or keep their house as long as they can and get evicted and such.
Oh, that's interesting. We should use that somewhere.
I forgot where I found
that. Though, as a cause, that's like a interesting cause.
Yeah, that they don't want to leave. Like they want to stay in their homes.
Yeah, definitely, we can use that point.
So for number 6, the quote that I used was, "This is a long-term problem and it's growing more acute as rents and home prices keep going up." So that just ties into what we're talking about as a unit.
Let me see. People have 9 to 5 good paying jobs. They just don't have anywhere to live. I knew people who worked at Google, who worked for Cisco, who were homeless right here in the jungle with us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the quote I have.
Yeah.
The same article that I got.
That's okay. So ready to move on to number 7. What solutions have been attempted before?
Well, I think like the housing and like having shelters and like food banks and things like that. I mean, those are all happening right now where people are going to shelters and things like that. But there was another article that I read that I found really interesting, that the having shelters doesn't really work in the favor of like homeless people, because the shelters, at least in this area, are only open for a certain amount of time in the day. So they're not like 24 hours. And you kind of have to decide on either like sleeping in a shelter, because the shelters don't offer food, or going to get food to eat for that night.
Yeah.
And it hurts the people who like are working, because what happens is if they work a job and they work a shift and they get off at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or something, if the shelter closes at 6 o'clock or like 7, they have to decide on either going to get something to eat and making it to a shelter on time. And I'm assuming, a lot of them don't have like vehicles, so they can't, go run to McDonald's and then come to the shelter. They have to walk, or they have to take public transportation. And a lot of them kind of cancel each other out. So you have to decide between,
What's
sleeping.
important for you?
Yeah, sleeping in a shelter and having, a blanket and, a place to sleep, or having a meal at the end of the day. And so that was like another thing that I saw, that a lot of the things aren't adding up with each other. Like if it was a 24-hour shelter, it'd be totally different. Then you could go get something to eat and be able to go. And they only have a certain amount of rooms for the night.
Yeah.
Too. If there's only 20 spaces available, you have to get there before other people do. And, it makes it even more stressful to be like, oh crap, like I have to eat or I have to go sleep in the shelter. So that was an issue that they have to, I think, is a good thing to work on, making sure the things are helping the people who need the help.
Yeah, like if you make it difficult to help someone, then people won't even take advantage of the resources.
Yeah, because then what's going to happen that they found is that people just don't end up working then. So they can make it on time to shelters. So then it's like, well, you're just making the problem worse now, because the more people who aren't working, the more they're not going to help themselves, and then you're just going to need to build more shelters, and it's never going to go down. It's just going to raise the probability of them being homeless longer.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that they need to do, is maybe make them like 24 hours, or at least make them till like, I don't know, midnight or something. They have more time or have more spaces available in the rooms for people to stay.
Many spaces? I sleep up to like 700 people in a shelter.
Yeah, some of them were like that, and then some of them I saw that was like, oh, like only 20 people or 15 people can stay in here, and it's like, that's
crazy.
It could be like 2 or 3 families maybe.
Is it depending on which area they're in? Like,
probably.
Yeah, the
locations.
It's in San Jose. I have the cross streets, but it's a shelter in like downtown San Jose that is only open for like a certain amount of time, like a certain amount of like
or something once you're in there.
Yeah, time of the day where it's like they're only open from like 9 to 5 or like 8 to 4 type of thing, and it makes it difficult. So if someone is working a 9 to 5 job,
make it,
make it in time.
Those people, especially the techies, like they get taken care of at work. Like they have food. They can still sleep at work if they really have to.
Definitely.
But like the actual homeless people that have nothing, those are the people that really need to be like reached out to.
Exactly. Okay. I think we have like less than 10 minutes. So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, let's go to were we on numbers 8 now?
Yeah.
Okay, so what will happen if the problem is not solved? Oh, well, obviously we're just gonna have more homeless people. Just gonna get bigger.
Violence.
Yeah.
Could be, like more homeless people, more people maybe not getting help on like their drug addictions or any other addictions they have, and just maybe their mental health getting even worse, and you know, it just goes on from there.
Yeah.
There was this article that I seen about, you know, what will happen. It said homeless people about 35 times more would likely commit suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, that's another thing, is a lot of them are severely depressed and they just can't
deal with it.
Yeah, that's horrible. But yeah, so those are all problems that would happen if it's not, obviously this isn't going to be an overnight fix where, it's going to change overnight, but as long as they're like in the process. I think another thing too is like the police officers. A lot of the homeless people said that a lot of the police officers, some of them just come in and they're like, you need to leave, or like, you can't stay here.
People that they don't their cars.
Yeah, like they don't offer them any like, oh, like, well, here's a card for a shelter, like let us help you get there, or like,
Yeah.
And a good thing would be to talk to like at least the San Jose Police Department and like offer them more information, or like inform them more about like what you can do instead. It's like, okay, if you see them, tell them there's like another place that they can park their car, or at least be like, well, let's go find you a shelter you can stay the night, or help them instead of just saying like, you just can't stay here. That doesn't help them.
Right.
It just like frustrates you, and it's like, well, then what am I supposed to do? And
that's a good idea. That's like a good point to have.
To do. They're just being messed up about it, and they're not doing their jobs.
Like,
some of them, of course.
Yeah.
A lot of the cops do help them, but some of them, at least in the article I read, the guy who was talking about it was like, all the ones that I've had issues with have just been like, you need to leave, like you can't stay here. And then it's like, well, like, can you help me? Like, where am I supposed to go? And they don't have like any, and it may not be their fault. They just may not know
how to tackle the situation.
How to show more like empathy of these people.
I was thinking that too.
Like, give them
this guy has nowhere to go, and you're just gonna kick him out. Like, I know it's your job to clear things out, but if offer more of your help, that's what you're there for. I mean, that's what you get taxes.
And the cop just wants the solution to be done with.
Yeah, and that's not right.
And so like, you should give them like maybe like some kind of a card and be like, okay, within this certain where your beat is, your patrol, like there's 6 homeless shelters that you have, and like maybe they should have like some kind of a card or something that like, okay, if you see someone, like let them know where it is and like help them, find a place, and just inform. I think it's just like informing them more, like so they know, because some cops just may not know that, of how many things there are that they could use, or resources they can use to help the homeless people, and they're in a position where they can do it. And so I think that would be another good, that's probably for another one of the problems, but
how to solve it or something.
For that, yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to number 9. What are the constraints for a workable solution?
Well, it takes a lot of time. This isn't like I said, it's not going to be like overnight. This is going to take, I would be surprised even if like years and years, like it'll take a long time for this to be like solved for sure. Or not even if it'll ever be solved. Like it may not ever be completely solved.
Yeah.
So.
And I put like one constraint is like that there's not enough funding to help the amount of homeless people that there is in the community.
Yeah. Time and money are huge. Mm-hmm. And then also like where it says proximity, like, that San Jose is such like a populated area, and like the places that they would need to use to like build new homes and stuff is like not the wildlife, but like certain areas that aren't habitable or no one lives in, and then they would have to tear all that down, build something, and it's like it may not work in that area because there may be like a river running through like right there, or there's like sewage, or there's something that would cost like double the money to clear out, renovate, and then build on top of. So it has a lot to do with obviously like location on where to go, and they're not going to just open up a you know, a homeless shelter in like Santana Row or something. Like, it's like certain areas they're not going to allow it to happen.
Yeah. Okay. For number 10, what are possible solutions that satisfy the criteria?
I think we just talk about like a bunch of them.
Yeah.
With
I think they should have access to good health and then mental health care. It's a way for them to support themselves, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Giving cops more options to help.
Right? And they have access to Medi-Cal and Medicaid benefits.
Yeah, and also Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, and the veterans have their VA insurance.
Yeah, definitely. It's just all on, like, if there's enough resources for them to do that, like appointment-wise, or, you know, you might not be able to get there the next day, or, you know, those kind of constraints for them. But
we also need affordable housing.
I think that's like the main thing is affordable housing, or having more areas for shelters available.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Or like what we said, a 24-hour shelter. Or if shelters provide food, so that, you know, that issue that you mentioned before, that they don't, you know, choose food over sleeping, or, you know, like, and then they get stuck outside. So
yeah, at least like provide them with like snacks or something, like bars or something, you know.
Or build a shelter next to like a food bank, so that like it's easy access either way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I don't know if this is something we can use, but I also put having the community sign a petition that allows local restaurants to donate any extra food to the homeless community, because they usually throw it out at the end of the day. So if they could use that for a good cause, that would be great.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. That would be great. Because I think what would be good too is if you guys send me all your like reports or like your quotes you want to use, and I can just put it into one big one, and then we can kind of like the next time we meet, like the next time we meet, I'll have it all in one format. So then
I'll email you right now. Can I get your email?
Yeah.
So we only have one more minute, so we all got this all set.
Yeah, just text me your email.
Okay.
So we can finish our recording.
Yes.
So we all got our things done with the brainstorming, and then I'll send this over.
Yeah.
I don't know how to stop recording.
I think
found it.